Horror movies are actually garbage. Back in the day, whenever you were feeling like having a sleepless night, you would put on one of these things and you'd most likely shit yourself. But now it's always the same predictable crap over and over again. Today we're looking at the tropes that cause all of this. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into it. Whenever you're stuck in a creepy setting with a potential killer on the loose, you'd think that being in a group would be a no-brainer. Like, you don't need to be a killer to understand that a loner would be a more tempting target to fuck over than an entire group. Hell, even a brain is not needed to come to that realization. Too bad in horror movies apparently everyone is running around with their head up their ass. Because when they're looking for something insignificant, there'll be always this one smartass coming with a shitty line like, "Let's split it up, we'll cover more ground that way." Bro, you cannot tell me that this motherfucker isn't in on it. Like, they must be collabing with the killer at this point. Because come on, we all know that splitting up means someone is gonna die. Like, they were just walking around in the dark all alone, making themselves easy to pick off and shit. Like, what the hell do you expect to happen? But alright, during these scenes, once the killer gets their dirty hands upon somebody, we hear some hyper scream and everyone runs towards the source of the noise just to realize that the victim is straight up fucked. Like, you can't save them anymore. So they're just left there with their foot in their nose or something, rotting away and shit. But here's the thing that really annoys me. The fucking moron that came up with the idea to split up is out there bawling their eyes out. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. We all know that you got an assist off that kill. Once this entire thing is over, you need to get your ass in prison for manslaughter, bro. I'm not hearing you out. There are a few things on the world that have zero survival instincts. Organisms like the cave divers going to caves like Satan's asshole, mosquitoes that are just staring at me while I'm pulling off all their limbs, and of course, couples in horror movies. Legit, these motherfuckers always decide to single-handedly turn horror movies into romantic slop, going from 28 days later to 365 days. Find the worst possible moments to have some romantic action between the two. They can be on a conveyor belt that's heading towards a massive fucking flame, and they'll still sit right there and still continue giving a foot job as if nothing is going wrong. You don't need to be a genius to catch on to the fact that I absolutely hate these scenes. You know that it's bad when you're chilling for a literal killer to get his job over with. Because every time this shit happens, I'm somehow watching this with my parents. So now I'm scrambling for the remote, trying to skip the scene before I'm next to get executed. But once I finally manage to do that, I just see blood gushing everywhere, and I realize I skipped an important scene. And that scene always being the same shit. A guy's fucking his girlfriend, the girl warns her partner, but then he catches a knife in his skull before he even can react. And then after that, we'll see that naked bitch just running around before dying immediately right after. Like, these directors know what they're doing, sneaking all of that fan service shit. I just appreciate them killing off the guy first because I'd rather not see a bunch of cock and balls bouncing around. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't appreciate any nudity to begin with. Since, again, I'm with my parents. But at least they had some mercy. Moving on. Yo, you cannot convince me that there isn't any racism going on behind the scenes, having at least one motherfucker from the KKK pulling all the strings. Because the amount of times I've seen a black person dying at the very beginning is starting to get very suspicious. This was a trope that was mainly around in the older movies. Nowadays, they're trying to shift away from it, but I'm still including it anyway. Because in horror movies, common sense is not as common as we wish it was. But here's the thing, since horror movies have this cracky ass logic, that might even be an advantage. The black person is the perfect example of that. Like, we have this stupid ass cast over here suggesting splitting up in the middle of the woods in the dark, trying to find an exit somehow. And, of course, everyone else agrees with it except the black guy, who will say some stuff like, "Are you crazy? That's a guaranteed death wish." You know, speaking some sense into these dense fucking characters. But instead of acknowledging his wisdom and still continuing on with plan A. And understandably, this guy isn't having any of it, doing everything right to trying to keep his safety first, just to get victimized by the plot, having the killer spawn in the most illogical way possible and slicing him up into bite-sized pieces. Like, fuck off, bro. I cannot accept that the only source of brains is getting punished for using it. And as if this joke wasn't cruel enough, it gets worse. One of the characters might acknowledge his absence and say, "Hey, where's the unfortunate black guy at?" Everyone shrugs and then never talks about him ever again. Like, who needs enemies if you have these as your friends? One thing that I notice in horror is this. No matter how fast you are, you're not outrunning a killer. You can be prying you symbols indistinguishable twin, but that won't matter because these motherfuckers would still catch up to you without breaking a sweat. And you wanna know the cherry on top? They're not even fucking running! They're literally taking up a morning stroll type of speed as if they have all the time in the world. Like, you're literally causing someone else to have the adrenaline rush of the century and you're just walking with this cheery ass music in the background, birds singing around you, flowers blooming and shit. Like, they're just enjoying all the torment they're causing because they know soon enough the victim will trip over their own fucking toenail. That said though, this is why I hate chase scenes. Because the walking is bad enough, but literally tripping over your own hopes and dreams is what makes me foam from the mouth. You get the perfect chance to get away. The killer is literally serving you an escape on a silver platter and you're just pulling out that move. And then on top of that, you try to crawl away as well. Like, what do you think you are? A lizard? What makes you think that crawling will be your get out of jail free card when you can't even outrun them? I think I'm not the only one that's irritated by the bullshit these victims are pulling. I think even the killer is over it, probably having a twitchy eye behind the mask as well. I swear, horror characters are the perfect candidates to win the Darwin Awards, and as if I didn't make myself clear enough with the previous entries, this one might be the clearest argument, because no matter where they are, if there is a random noise that catches their attention, you best bet that they'll become a detective or something. Going around with their flashlight and trying to find the source of the noise. It can literally be a blood-curdling scream followed by a few gunshots here and there, and that still wouldn't deter these motherfuckers. Me personally, even a slight rustling in the bushes next to me would be enough for me to run to the nearest airport and take the first flight towards Manila. Like, they're acting as if they're going to die while calling the cops. Do you even realize the situation you're in? I think a maniac with a fucking machete is much more dangerous than a few guys with a blue cap on their head. But alright, there's no reason with these types of characters because again, they're already out there investigating, looking left, looking right, and hey, it's empty, no one's here, hooray! But then the camera's point of view changes for us to look behind the character and, oh no, the killer caught them. Who would have thought? They can try to cue a loud noise with the scariest looking monster in existence, but bro, the element of surprise was already flushed down the toilet. I don't think anyone was caught off guard seeing that shit, because again, it's the usual outcome in these situations. And here is my last annoyance when it comes to horror. The unnecessary build-up, because sometimes the character is just chilling in their house, I know, reading a book or something, and then suddenly we hear this build-up noise around them. The camera spins around the person, they're starting to get paranoid, and you think to yourself, oh shit, now they're in for it, expecting some jump scare to come in. And I mean, you're not wrong, there's definitely a jump scare, because while this bookworm is just spacing out and giving you a slight bit of anxiety, their annoying ass roommate or something comes in all cheery and stuff and scares the ever-loving shit out of them. Completely oblivious to the fact that they almost single-handedly caused someone to suffer a cardiac arrest. Either that, or someone from the cast is just walking around somewhere. The camera does the classic spinning thing again, you know, build up starting up and shit, and dude is having a borderline panic attack. But afterwards, this motherfucker just jumps out of nowhere, because, well, I don't have the answer myself. After composing himself, he uses the flashlight and points towards the direction that startled him, and we are presented with a washing machine. Or some other goofy object, which makes him realize that he is just a paranoid freak. And I'm just left there, behind my TV looking all grumpy and shit, hoping the action would come, but nah. I've gotta wait a good half hour for the real shit to start. You know what? Fuck this movie. I'd rather touch grass at that point. After everything I've mentioned, no wonder I stopped watching them. So anyway, that was it for today. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, drop some stupid comments, and I'll see you all in the next one.